Hey everyone, welcome to Building Tech Communities Around the World in the Community Summit for Content Creators. I'm Marian Villa, and my partner in crime, friend, and co-host is the amazing Manuela Castrillon. Before we dive in our topic to building tech communities worldwide, let's get to know each other. So I'm Marian Villa from Medellin, Colombia, South America, and I've been actively involved in my local and national communities since 2015. And my journey spanned Latin America with Pioneras and reached various global destinations. I'm involved with Google for Startups as a mentor, and I'm part also of Women Tech Makers community, and I'm GDE in web technologies. So Manu, now over you.
Hey Mari, and hi everyone. My name is Manuela, and I started my road in the tech communities in 2016, also in Medellin, the city where I'm from. And the first community that I joined is Pioneras, a community that Marian started. And then I started attending multiple events until joining global communities like Google Developer Experts, GitHub Campus Expert, and there I had the chance to have a broader impact outside my country. And more recently, I moved to the Netherlands. That was around a year ago. And there I'm accomplishing the goal of working in a big tech, but also I'm exploring the European landscape, the tech communities there. And Mari, I'm so excited to kick this project off finally because we have been planning this for a while. And now we're finally in the same geographical location. Like for the people who are going to see this, I think today we are in Singapore attending the Google Developer Creators and Online Communities Summit. So it's the perfect setup to start this project.
Yes, for a while we've been sparkling meaningful conversations about being a woman and Latins in tech, embracing global opportunities, and geeking about transformative technologies. So, introducing Devcheck.com, our podcast for all the tech enthusiasts out there. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube with possible extensions to Medium, Dev2, Hashnote, or Discord. But for now, let's focus on our current theme, so community creation. Manuela, share your tech journey and community experience briefly, going deeper in what you already told us.
Okay, so as I mentioned before, my journey started in 2016 with Pioneras Dev. At that time, I was studying software engineering, and a friend, Camila, she invited me to attend a Pioneras meetup. Then I was like a very active attendee. In this community, I gave my very first talk. And after around a year of being a member, Marian invited me to join the organizing team. Um, the things that at university, I felt that there was a lack of this sense of community. We didn't have a space to practice soft skills, public speaking, leadership, and that's why I brought that sense of community to my university, and I created with a friend Codex. There was a tech community where we shared about modern web technologies. We learned from experts from the industry. Also, the students participated as speakers. It was a great experience that then led me to join the GitHub Campus Expert program. And what else? Yeah, after finishing my studies, I continued like participating in events, being a speaker. So that's when Google Developer Experts and Women Tech Maker Ambassadors came to my life. And now that I'm living in Europe, I'm participating as a speaker in different tech communities, in different events, especially Google DevFest, that we are in the DevFest season. And yeah, and it's the sense of building community is kind of the same. Like the idea is to share knowledge, But depending on the context, how do you do that can change a lot. But we will dig into this later. So, Mari, this somehow started with you creating Pioneras Dev, and now we are here like 8 years later, like closing this circle, creating a project together.
So wow, definitely an incredible journey, Manu. And I truly believe that if you find someone really smart than you don't need to compete. You need to invite him or her to join you and work in a project together. And surely you learn something new. So that's what happened here. With you, I always recognize your curiosity, the good questions you ask, and the way you listen and take the advice. So I just remember some deep conversations, yeah, that we have between Bogota and Medellin, and attending our first Grace Hopper conference together is a real privilege walk with you and learn from a smart heart as engineer. I truly admire you and believe that was the beginning of something. Before cry, yeah, a little bit. With Pioneras, I have the opportunity to engage with my tribe and the women that are shaping the future as you, and the new leaders, the curious minds, the ones that are long life learners. But this conversation podcast starts with the lessons learned in the road. So the first lesson, or one major lessons that we learn in a community building is that it's like a living organism, an interconnected system. So if you are starting from scratch, cooperate with others and understand the ecosystem, the stakeholders, their impact and responsibilities. I had the chance to be part of the New York tech ecosystem. The key was connecting with leaders, being active at events, and using the networking opportunities. So communities work like system theory, as I said. So every one of them are interconnected and somehow, and are part of the ecosystems if we think of them as a living organism. So, for example, I'm part of different communities, as I said, Women Tech Makers, the GD program, Google Developer Expert program. We are also part of Pionera. So we join efforts with others like individuals to create projects together. And Manu, I want to be more specific about your journey creating with others, and how was your first steps in the communities?
Okay, so I think that we can divide the road, like let's say from starting in tech communities till being a leader, can be 4 steps. The first one is like to just get to know your community, and you can do this by just attending events and observing what's happening, what's people saying, and also like taking into account the socioeconomic context where you are and identifying how does this relates to the event's purpose. And also like don't only attend, like talk to people, do some networking, talk to the organizers and be open to learn. The second step would be a speaker, like start actively participating by sharing your knowledge. I feel like everyone has something to teach. Like there's a misconception that in order to be a speaker, you have to be like the top expert in a topic, and I feel like that's not true. Like we all have something valuable to share. So be a mentor, give talks. I would say there's even like a 3.5 step. There is also volunteer. Like you can talk to the organizers and tell them like I can help you. I don't know, organizing the space for the speaker, organizing chairs, like helping with the food, with registration, whatever. But like start learning about all these tasks that are also needed to organize an event. And after that, you can start joining the organizing team. You don't necessarily need to create your own community from scratch. I think that it's even more useful to join a pre-existing community so you can learn from other leaders. And then that will be the fourth step. If you want, you can create your own tech community. And actually, I feel like one of the most common mistakes is that people want to jump directly to being a leader. And it's very difficult to like being a leader don't if you haven't been in the other roles. You need to know what other roles needs you so you can guide them better.
So, Manu, your example is a clear explanation of the steps to take, and that's really important to be part as an assistant to the community at the beginning. And taking this opportunity, I want to share like my personal experience being part of the ecosystem in New York. So, one of the things that I learned in this new big city when you are new and you are trying to create your network is get in touch with leaders and communities and I remember that I was trying to get it funded, finish all the Founder Institute bootcamp at the time, and kickstarted a product, and I realized I just don't have a network in that city. So I start to getting deep to the platform. At the time it was Meetup, but probably you can go to Slack or Discord or different platforms that support communities and search for the active communities there and the technologies you felt very enthusiastic about, like Angular and Google. I remember I was attending and getting to know like the offices of Google at New York, and it was amazing for me at the time. And realize like they have really an agenda, so you can create your academic agenda with the events that community provides.
And there are Google developer groups all
all,
around the world.
all over the world. Yeah, actually, that's why we're attending DevFest season. So, for example, in New York, they have like geographically they are divided in 5 boroughs, and they have something like is like Brooklyn JS, Queen JS, Manhattan JS, and for example, those communities are connecting people with similar interests in JavaScript. And that was amazing because I learned how to structure and have better concepts and also learning about language and the technology itself. But the most important was inspire me to be active part as a leader in different scenarios. So I previously attending and taking sub notes how they speak, how they present in the subjects, and they inspire me then to present my own or attend my own call for papers. So I have also before getting to New York, in 2 different occasions directly with the organization of JSCOM in Colombia. And when you are presenting a talk in another language, when it's not your native language, is really a challenge. And I could awake different insecurities in you. So I know you need to be brave and face the challenge to speak in another language. And emphasize like the power and responsibility that comes with being a part of a network. So when you don't forget that a great power comes with a huge responsibility, you need to be aware of the impact you have with your content, with the connections you are creating as a part of the community. So my advice will be don't just create a community from scratch. Connect with other communities, join one, work with them, learn from others, and then try to adapt that content and create your own style to share knowledge. Probably the best language to share is English. That's why I say be brave. But going back to the lessons learned, so I think the important thing is purpose. And I truly believe like in Developers Creator Online Community Summit, we are talking a lot about purpose, but I want you to share with us like the amazing experience you have in Europe and how the purpose is important to have in mind when you are in different contexts and in different geographical locations.
Yeah, so one of the first lessons that I learned when I started like getting curious about diversity and inclusion is that diversity can have different meanings depending on the context. Like for example, I think like the big issue is the social gap. So for me, like our real like diversity gap that we need to solve is social gap. And a different country could be like a, I don't know, the gender, like different topics that are also important, but depending on the context, one can be priority or other. And I feel like this concept also applies when you're defining your community's purpose and you're building community. So, as I mentioned, we have identified that in Colombia we have this huge social gap, and getting access to university is a huge privilege. While in most European countries, this is not an issue, and all people can have access to the university for free, or if not, it is very affordable. So that leads that while the Colombian tech communities are focused on generating spaces to share knowledge, find mentors, and even build your path from zero to finding a job to build your career in tech. In most European countries, this role is already covered by the government. So the tech events are more focused on build your network, find internships. That this is something that we don't have in Colombia, like this concept of internships, or to find full-time job positions. And yeah, clearly learn new things, but not necessarily with the same motivation that most people would do it in Colombia, that is create a career. In these spaces in more privileged countries, like the motivation I feel is like pure curiosity and career growth. But here's like one more interesting thing. And I circle back to what you mentioned before is like knowing your context, like really learn about your context. And what I just said, like obviously it doesn't apply to all Europe. And for instance, I had an amazing experience in a Dev Fest. It was like a month ago. The Dev Fest was in Gela. This is like a small city in Sicily, Italy. And even if they are in Europe, this is like a zone that is very, let's say, abandoned by the government. And what these leaders are identifying is that people are moving, or like young people are moving to the biggest cities in Italy to build their careers there. So they now are trying like to bring that knowledge in tech to Gela, to their community, so they can help like building the technological landscape there. So yeah, not all continents work in the same way, and not even inside the same country it's going to work all the same.
So, understanding these regional needs has influenced your approach and the outcomes you observe in these scenarios, or the way you are looking like creating communities in Europe.
So this is a tricky one because I feel like I haven't reached the point of building a community from scratch in the Netherlands, or like not even being part of an organizing team in front of the community. Now I think like I'm in phase three. Like I'm in this phase of collaboration with existing communities, attending events, being a speaker, and gaining knowledge about the technological landscape. But I definitely have been using all these lessons in a new role that I started to explore a month ago, and is organizing events, but now in the other side of the table, now in my work, in my company. So the company always has like a clear objective for what they want, the impact they want to have in the community. And I know the community, so what I bring to the table is like, okay, you have this to offer, this is what the community needs or wants. Like, how do we create an event that satisfies both? So it has been a new experience, very interesting, and we could talk like a whole new episode about it.
it. So that's exactly what we did with Pioneras in 2016. But without assuming that everyone knows what is Pioneras, I will briefly share an introduction of our community. We born in Medellin, Colombia, South America, but we managed to have reach of 1,500 women in 8 main cities in Colombia. And in our digital channels right now, we are plus 50,000 Latin women connected through technology. So that's huge. And Pionera is the only and first Latin America community to won the IBM Open Source Community Award. We also has been recognized by the Royal Academy of Engineering London as leaders in innovation with social impact through its LEAF program, that is Leaders in Innovation Fellowship. So when we received this recognition in London, the first thing we had to do was precisely create a network with academia and industry, and in a different continent, and the steps were the same. So recognize the ecosystem, attend a few meetups, and build a networking agenda. Introduce the community and make contacts in this networking, and use mentors, sponsors to make introductions and schedule with valuable stakeholders in the ecosystems of the city, country where you are. So finally, our community is supported in facing challenge, and also I like to call them key points. So first, building engagement. So nurturing active participation and engagement with that community present an initial challenge. So we run Pioneras Conf 2023, and strategies like Pioneras Conf were pivotal in overcoming this hurdle. The second one is navigation growth. Managing the community growth challenge in maintaining the quality of interactions and implementing scalable systems and moderation techniques became essential. That's why this developer, creator, and online community summits, you will find key points to bring to your communities. So, and finally, and really important, because the why, the purpose, is what is our fuel. So diversity and inclusion. So ensuring diversity and inclusion within the community was a priority in Pioneras. And challenge arose in creating an environment that caters to a wide range of backgrounds and perspectives. For example, in Colombia, we have Afro-Colombians, we have 123 indigenous people, different ethnias that probably you didn't hear about it. And it's important to bring all the voices to the table. So yeah, I will to add that understand that creating community takes time because it requires trust. There is a meme that makes me laugh, but I love sharing with the core team in Pioneras that says you have to trust, because if you don't trust, there is no trust. And you can read this like with Carol G. Hasn't, and it would be really funny. And it sounds bottomless, but the reality is that is how it is. So you build projects and relationships, trusting that you are giving your best. So in that way, everything goes well and create the greatest and the best impact. But this is a job. You are not going to be done alone. So you need a minimum of 1+, and is that required to join you. And that begins a movement and a community. That's the way Pioneras start. So thank you, Manu, for being here with me and creating community with me.
Thank you. It has been like an honor to share this road during these years with you. It's like I feel we're completely different persons, like for good, from the time we met. It's crazy. And this conversation also reminded me of a training that I had when I joined the GitHub Campus Experts program, because there we needed to do like a full reflection about our community. In this case, I did it about my university's community, but there we needed to feel like what's your community's purpose, what's the mission, how is the community going to continue being active after you leave university, after you graduated, and a bunch of questions that at the moment, like, is this really necessary? like I'm already doing this, I'm already building community. Why do I have to answer all those questions? But now I understand, I completely understand the reason behind it. And it is extremely important to have that reflection before building a community. It's going to be like a game changer. And thank you, Marian, for sharing all these lessons about Pioneras Dev. And to our listeners, viewers, thank you for listening and stay tuned for more inspiring conversations. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite platform. It's Devcheck Co. Devcheck Co. everywhere. And yeah, until next time, this is Marin Villa and Manuela. Yeah, thanks for all the support. Yeah.
And thanks, Google, for all the community support in the Developer Creator and Online Communities Summit. Hashtag Google DCOC.
Bye.